Here's the glue that we did yesterday on the bulkhead fitting. Nice and dry. Fantastic. And here's the port that we blocked off up top. Let me get out of the light here. It's hard to, but it is. Solid. Perfect. Look at that. Get that out of here. And then we did our patch over here. Completely sealed up. Now John's mixing some gel coat. We're gonna jump to the back of the machine here. And he's gonna patch up that little spot where the Speedo was. All right, so what do we got here, John?
We have black gel coat with a little bit of fill to make it a little bit thicker. And we're just gonna add some regular catalyst and mix it up.
And this is high gloss black gel coat.
So this is a little bit of an experiment because normally we would fill that with regular filler and then gel coat over, but we're gonna try something new. If it works, great. If not, we grind it out and do it again. It's the beauty of gel coat. Trying to just even it out so it's nice and even across the whole thing. One pass. And that's it. Now I wait for it to dry and sand it out.
In order to get the carriage bracket here, I have to take off all this glue. So that's this, and that. All that glue's got to come out before I can get that guy in there. So I'm going to use the air chisel. It's going to be very loud, but I'm going to use the air chisel and try and get most of this big stuff off. Then I'm going to grind it. I'm going to prep the actual piece over here. Then we're going to put the pump in. We're going to make a mock-up motor and a drive shaft and set this guy in. And we have quick set epoxy, so it's going to dry in about 25 minutes. So I want to get everything lined up so we can get that piece in place, how it's supposed to be, and mounted, and then we pretty much can move up from there. Let's start here. Not too shabby at all. No, don't see it. Sorry. Very perfect. Now that all that glue is removed, we're going to prep everything for some glue. I'm going to hit this with the whiz, so all the white where the glue was, I'm going to prep that with this. And then the actual support bracket over there is that as well to make sure it's nice and clean. So prep this now. Let's get to it. Alright, I need to wipe all this down. The epoxy is not going to stick very well if there's dust all over the place, so I am going to wipe this down here and get all this dust out of here.
What are you wiping it down with?
Acetone. Better?
That'll do.
I'm going to take out these bolts right here, blow this thing off, and wipe it down with acetone. Hit all this with acetone here. That should be good. All right, good. Let's just do a dry fit to see how this thing looks. Wow, look at that. That's fantastic. We are getting somewhere, guys. We are actually getting somewhere. All right, so I'm gonna keep that in there for right now. Let's go back over to the jet pump. I wanna put the top manifold on the jet pump and at least mount the jet pump up. Have the manifold here. Goes this way. Okay. Should be fairly quick. All right, I'm going to put a little sealant like we did before. Thread compound right here. Okay. Of course, that one's going to be in the way, so I will do this one first. We make these fittings, by the way. They're actually really nice.
Those are custom Callaway Performance fittings?
They are. Wouldn't say custom. Put that guy right there. Move this guy out of the way. Okay, good. There. Let me go up here a little bit more. Good. Let me put this guy back where I had it. Right there. Okay. Let me grab some pump bolts and we're going to mount this guy in. Here's our pump mount bolts. They're 14mm hex. Let's get this bad boy in right now. am going to be making an Ultra 300 drive shaft. I think that's going to work the best for this setup. So let's go do that right now. We're going to build our drive shaft here. We have an OEM coupler, OEM washer, drive shaft washer.
Genuine.
Yep. Got that. Some Loctite, we're going to need that. And here's our non-OEM drive shaft, but it is brand new. Okay. Actually is a decent drive shaft. Not bad. Ultra 300 drive shaft. A little dirty. Okay. First thing to do, put the washer on like that. And you have to use Loctite on here. Otherwise, this can loosen. This is literally a permanent solution here. So let's put some red Loctite. Put some on this side. I know this Loctite's a little watery. I'm going to put a little bit on here. Or a lot of it. That worked out. All right, good. And the threads are actually a very close fitment, so there's barely any wobble in here. And it's made like that on purpose because this thing's spinning pretty fast and you don't want this thing to have a wobble. Okay, now we're going to tighten this. There's 2 flats on here. I'm going to hold this drive shaft on the flats and then I'm going to tighten it. Gonna have to use a little leverage here. Okay, that's pretty damn tight. I'm actually gonna grab a carriage, a brand new carriage and bolts. I'm gonna put a brand new bearing in the carriage and I'm gonna lightly mount it up here. I just wanna get an idea of where my center line is gonna be. So let me grab the bolts, then I'm gonna go push a bearing, just a single bearing, no seals, in a brand new carriage. Let's do that now. Here's our carriage bolts. Let's go upstairs. We're gonna go grab a carriage and a bearing. Aftermarket carriage. Carriage bearing. All right, let's push the bearing in. Here's our bearing. Genuine NTN bearing. Definitely, if not the best, one of the best in the world. Just to make this bearing go in a little easier, I'm going to put a smidge of grease. I don't want to gall up the aluminum. All right, I'm going to go push this in on the press. Here's our little press, specifically our carriage installation tool here. Perfect, done. Okay, let's go loosely put this carriage in. All right, so here, this is how our carriage sits when your engine is in, so you get an idea here. So I'm gonna loosely put these in. Like I said, this is just gonna be a mock-up for right now. Nothing crazy. What I'm gonna do though is I want to put this bolt hole here in the center. Okay, so that one's in the center. Now I'm gonna move this one to the center, and it looks like the bottom ones are also in the center. I don't know if you can see that from up here. The washer's in the way, but all 4 are in the center. Okay, here she is. The drive shaft is in, but you can see it's kind of in a funny spot here. First off, this needs to go back a little bit. So I want to make sure that we're sitting in the right spot. So let's go this way. We need to be about right there. So you do have room on this setup for a little misalignment, and this looks pretty close to the center here. Obviously it's just a little up the angle, but it could just be the mold on here. But we are in line with the pump and we're set back perfectly here. Actually, there's a piece, that aluminum piece that goes under here, so I set this a little bit further this way, but look at that, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Feels like it's in the center. Good. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tuck these out of the way for right now. I'm gonna grab a marker right now and I'm gonna outline where this is gonna sit for our final installation. Paint marker, gonna put that there, that there, and then back here. Gotcha. Okay. 2, 3. All right, cool. All right, let's put these in. All right, we have one, and we have one. All right, just want to be able to move everything around. Now let's grab some cases, a crank, output shaft, and a PTO and some motor mounts, and let's put a bottom end in here and see how everything lines up. All right, I'm gonna grab this set of cases here. They're nice and dirty, so it's perfect to use. It's got a motor mount on either side, perfect. That'll make life easy. I need a front cover. Here's a cover. We have a drive pulley. We have a damper. One case half at a time. All right, let's rotate. We're going to close the lid. All right, I grabbed some used bearings here. We're really going to do a mock-up lower end right now. I know it's still a little wet here, but it's okay. Be fine. Here's some thrust bearings here. I'm gonna put bearing here. Let's put this here. Okay, good. Just a smidge of oil. And the thrust as well. Here, here. Perfect. All right, let's drop this crank in. Okay, good. Alrighty, so we're gonna take this guy here, drop that on. All right. Okay, 12. All right, here's a flywheel. Boom, done. Let's get the push shaft. Let's get this guy on here. All right, let me get some bolts. Okay, so this goes like that. This goes like that. Okay, let's tighten this guy now. And I'm actually going to have to go backwards. Okay, we're good. Okay, see how that slid in a lot easier? That's the way it should be. I'm gonna put some motor mount bolts in here loosely, and I'm gonna shift the motor over until that's in the middle, and I'm gonna set my motor mounts. Oops. All right, so let's get that in the middle there. Oops, I forgot the washer. All right. So that actually looks like it's in the center. Okay. What I always like to do is, just in case nothing is perfect, is I like to push back on the PTO like that. So I want my motor set all the way back as far as possible. Forward. Just in case.
Forward or back?
Technically forward. Just in case something does happen or whatever, and the drive shaft or something tries to push into the motor, you have a little bit of room here so nothing goes wrong. I'm going to tighten the 12s here. I'm going to tighten my motor mounts to the hull. We are really, really close. I'm going to take these 14 mils out. I'm going to slide this motor back. We're going to take the drive shaft out with this support piece here. I'm going to start laying some glue. Then we're going to put everything back the way it needs to be. As you see it, we're going to crank down all the bolts, and we're going to let this set overnight. We took the motor mount bolts out. The actual motor mounts themselves are anchored to the hull, so we are good and golden there. I'm going to push this motor off. It's going to clunk a little bit. I'm going to move this motor a little bit more out of my way. All right, I'm going to put that there. just gotta get out of my way a little bit more. Okay, much better. All right, so we marked where this piece is going. All right, we're gonna do what we did before. I want that one in the middle, just like that. Okay, good. All right, so we prepped all this already for the epoxy. Let's start laying some epoxy. All right,
Time for breaks.
there's always time for breaks. All right, I'm gonna lay that just lightly, just like that. Let's put this guy in here.
You had it under the motor.
Did I? Okay.
There it goes.
Yep. Okay, good. Line up these motor mounts. All right, remember before we spoke, we're gonna set the motor all the way back. So I'm gonna crank down these motor mount bolts here, and that's gonna put a lot of pressure on this whole entire thing to pull it down, so that when the carriage is finally set, we'll have zero load on the carriage, and it'll be straight. Let's see if this side does the same thing. Yep. Finally, the biggest piece of the puzzle was completed, was literally getting this support piece on. That was my biggest worry. I've never had to do that before, but I think we're gonna have, it's gonna be set perfectly. There should be no load on it when it's done. So here's our mock-up and everything. By tomorrow, this should be completely set and ready to go. Then I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna build a fuel pump and do all that. And we're gonna start building a motor for this thing. Let's take a look at it real quick because it actually came out really cool. It's just about set, so pretty solid. The glue has a little bit more to go, so we're gonna leave that for a little bit longer, but everything moves really, really nice. Look at that. So I think we're gonna have really good luck. Right now, we're gonna build a standard flow fuel pump for this machine. And this is the STX 160 fuel tank. So that's gonna be the same as the new 2022 Plus fuel pump. So we have to work with this crappy plastic contraption here. I'm gonna do the mod kit with the standard flow and the fine bag, but I'm also gonna put an external inline fuel filter on there. So let's rip this thing apart. Let's get it going. Let's put it in, and then we're going to do the fuel filler neck mod as well, just to finish that off. So let's get to it. First thing, I'm gonna take this float off so we do not damage it. I'm gonna put that right over here, out of the way. Let me take this cap off here. All right, this boot has a little clip in the bottom here. It's really hard to see because it's the same color. You can see with my glove here. Okay. Boot off, bag off. Wow. Okay, this is going in the garbage. All right, now we're gonna take this housing apart. Okay, done. Since this is a 310, this fuel pressure regulator is also garbage. This harness is garbage, as well as this fuel pump assembly and this housing, all garbage. I'm gonna put this plug back on here, just like that. Today, I'm gonna put the 180 liter per hour fuel pump in here, not the 240. I want this fuel pump for break-in. I don't want it to be too rich for break-in. So we're gonna start with this, and I can always change it later on. And as we showed you in our other videos, look at the size difference. This is a far superior pump. It flows everything you need for this machine. Do not use these crappy pumps anymore. I give extra in the kit just in case you need. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 O-rings on here. We're going to see how it looks. We might have to add more, but I'll show you that when we're at that point if we need to add more or take one away. Oil on there. Now we're going to slide this adapter on here. Okay, good. Okay, clipped in. Make sure everything clips in easily. Now we're going to put it in the housing. Just like that. Okay. All right, we have a little O-ring in here that we're going to reuse. Okay, just like that. We make these. It's a 55 PSI fuel pressure regulator, specifically for the 310s. Okay, in there. Now, let me go this way here. So we're going to slip that in there. So you want to look at this here. So I did put the correct number of O-rings in here. If your regulator is popped up like that, you're going to have to take an O-ring out. But since everything is flush and solid, that's good. Look at that. Perfect. All right, here's the first one here. And bear in mind, there's 2 size screws here. You don't want to use the wrong screw in the wrong place. Otherwise, you will strip out the threads, and there's not much threads on here. So here's your short one, and here's your long one. So anything that's up against the fuel pump here, so that's these guys with the flats on here, we're going to use the short guys. I'm just making it hand tight right now, nothing crazy. All right, here's a long screw. I'm pushing down here. That one's tight. This one's sticking out a little bit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this here. Oops. I'm going to bend this like that a little bit. See, I put a little bend in it. So now it's contacting the plastic a bit better. Okay, I'm going to push down and up here, nice and tight. Okay. This one I'm actually going to bend as well. Okay, you can see the bend I just put in it. Solid. Look how solid it is. That's nice. All right, now our bag gets installed just like this. Gonna give it a nice push. Perfect. Just like that. I'm gonna wrap this harness around the pump like that. Here's our brand new float arm. So we're gonna take this float arm out of here, just like that. I'm gonna take this off. Just like that. And we're going to pull that out like that, but you don't want to lose your little clip. So here's your little clip. Now here's our new one. See the little slot in there? We're going to make sure the slot goes towards this tang here that holds it in. Push that down. I gotta go a little bit more here. Now it's a bit tricky to get this guy in here. Quite a bit tricky. So let me put this here. I'm gonna grab pliers here. So I kind of got it lined up, and I'm going to use the pliers to pull it in, just like that. Okay. Now we're going to slip this guy in here, and then we're going to clip this guy in here. Okay. All right, so guys, take this, just kind of be careful. I don't know why it's like this, but put a little pressure on here. Just don't break it. And there we go. It's got a good amount of pressure pushing out. And you can see the tang right here. It's sitting on this surface. And same as this one. So you want to make sure if this thing pulls out, do not put the pump in there because it can melt the connector. Do not do that. So make sure that's sitting right, which it is. Okay. Here is your mod kit install. Look how easy that was. Okay, great. Okay, don't forget your base O-ring because this is a brand new fuel tank. Let's put that there. All right, the float is in. Got that. Good. All right, I'm gonna take the vent off right here, just to get it out of my way. I put a line here in the middle, and I wanna follow that line over, and I wanna put a dot right there, in line with that, in the center of this flat part here. Actually, I'll move it over a little bit. So right there, that's where I'm going to put a 3/4 hole. And we will be providing a special drill bit with the kit, so it's a little bit easier to work with. Right now, I'm going to use a regular 3/4 inch bit. I'm going to make a little pilot hole. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to feed this guy like this. Bend this over. Oh, don't lose that guy. Okay. Pull that up through the hole. All right, we're gonna put a little bit of oil on the inlet and the outlet so it's easier to get on. And I'm gonna put a smidge in here. All right, let's get this guy on. Let's do it. All right, I am going to trim a little bit of material off here. It's gonna be easier to put the filler hose clamp on from up here and drop it in. So I'm gonna take a little material off, but I'm gonna put a little tape over my inlet on the gas tank so I don't get any fiberglass in the filler. There we go. Good.